Welcome, my beautiful humans, to the Pan Talk podcast. I'm Joe Metzger, and this is the podcast for our pansexual, panromantic, and pangender lovies. I'll be having discussions with my co-host Anil Ratchandani, as well as interviewing my guests to learn more about their journey, and we'll talking about anything and everything in the queerverse. And if you don't identify as queer, don't worry, we want you here too. Please remember that this podcast is for those 18 and older, and some of the topics may be controversial. Trigger warnings will be in the description. Listener discretion is always advised. If you want to be a guest on Pan Talk, you can email us at pantalkpod@gmail.com. Without further ado, let's get queer. Welcome to the Pan Talk podcast, where the pancakes are always gluten-free. Today, my very first guest on Pan Talk is Nat. How are you doing, Nat?
I am doing good.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast and being our first guest.
I am so excited that you're doing this.
I can't wait to hear your story, but before we get started, let's do the pronoun orientation roll call.
Awesome. Okay. My name is Nat Palhamas. I am they, she, and what else?
And your orientation.
And I am pansexual.
Yes! That's what we like to hear.
Very queer.
So let's talk about that word. I feel like that's a word that we don't, as a society, really know what that means. So how do you define pansexual?
Pansexual, how I define it, is I always tell people that I'm attracted to vibes, to energy.
I love it.
It's like someone is definitely attractive to me if I connect with them and I like their vibe. If they can be, quote unquote, the hottest person in the world, and if I feel like there's like this ugly energy coming, then I don't want to have anything to do with them. But one of the things I really, really love about pan people is that when you ask people how they define their pansexuality, it's usually everyone says different things.
Right.
And no one has an issue with that. It's like, it's what you want it to be. It's not like, I haven't experienced a lot of gatekeepers in the pan community, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I feel like that is kind of the motto for the community at large, is that there are no rules. We all get to, identify how we want to.
Yes.
If there is any rule at all, it's just respect other people's decisions and choices and let them
absolutely
identify as they want to identify.
Yeah.
So,
and hearts, not parts.
Hearts, not parts.
Yeah.
I love that. That's one of my favorite phrases.
Me too.
So why don't you tell us how, your story, how you came to understand that you were pansexual?
Okay. Well, and I think you can relate to this. I came out very late.
Yes.
So I am still technically kind of a baby pan in a way.
Tiny skillet?
Yeah, I'm a little skillet, not in life, but in the scheme of this.
Relatable.
Yeah. So, but I also think that it's important to tell that story because it's never too late to be the person you are and who you want to be. Live the life you want. I knew at a very young age, probably around 13, that I was queer. I was in love with my best friend. She was a lesbian. And I just always had pulls to people, no matter who they were. I just liked people, it didn't matter. Although I gotta say, I love boobies. So I was drawn to that too, but yeah, so I just love people. And I grew up in the entertainment industry as a professional dancer, and then also as a musical artist signed to a label, when I was in my tweens and teens.
Wow.
And as a young adult. So that created some obstacles as far as what was expected of me from culture of dance, the culture of my family members surrounding that.
Like heteronormativity, gender roles, that sort of thing?
Yeah, and one of the big things is being really femme. I was over-sexualized kind of at a young age, and I had to be really femme. And I think when your physical identity is kind of forced upon you, everything gets a little messed up.
Yeah.
You don't really know if you're coming or going, and you don't know that because, you don't know anything yet. But, as years went on, I feel like I kept trying to come out, and bisexuality, no shade to my bisexual friends, because I love bi people. We're all under the same umbrella.
Me too.
But bi never felt right for me.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because of, you know, how it was at the time or whatever, but I feel like when I started hearing about pansexuality, I was like, oh, yeah. Like all of a sudden it was like a thing in my brain, like this. So one of the things I think is kind of makes me sad is when people are like, we don't need all these flags. We don't need all these kind of like one-offs of here and there. Like we were talking about, like, what is that? What is that?
Right.
I think we do, because like people want kind of like if you don't want it, cool. If you don't want labels, that's fine. But some people, like myself, we need something to kind of identify with, to be like, oh, to make sense of things.
Yeah, you need something to hang your hat on.
Yeah.
I think for me, bi and pan are very interchangeable in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are significant differences that need to be acknowledged and need to be respected.
Yes. And I think one of the things is just not really acknowledging gender.
Yeah.
I feel like pan people don't really acknowledge it in the same way. And maybe I'm wrong. You know, I'm not here to dictate what anyone else feels about anything.
There are a million different opinions about it, and I think I have a friend of mine, and they are non-binary, and they identify with pansexuality more, but they call themselves bisexual because they like the flag better.
Oh my God, I've heard that so many times. There's all kinds of reasons. And here's the thing, there's no wrong in that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're all in this queer community together.
Right.
And I mean, unfortunately, I feel like bi-erasure is a thing. Pan-erasure is a thing.
Tell me about what is bi-erasure and pan-erasure?
Well, I've had many people say, well, you're married to a straight man, so you are not queer. And it's usually people that aren't in the queer community. Like, luckily, you know, like I said, I'm part of a great community, but, you know, straight people say that a lot.
Right.
And it's like, you don't just shut off those feelings and attractions just because you're married. And also, that's what it is. You're open to whomever you love.
Yeah.
And, you know, my person happens to be a straight man. So
I mean, I've heard it said in the hetero world, like, well, I'm married, I'm not dead, you know, and it's like, I think it applies to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, one of the big moments that it's really funny. I've had this store for 6 years. I've been out for 2. Okay, this is a very queer store. I've always, even as a young kid, championed the queer community, and I didn't realize that's because I was a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Also related.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like at some point you're like, wow, I'm really into this. But one of my friends, we had this event at the store when we were on Melrose, and we had like little things like straight, bi, gay, like these little blinky rings that kind of told like, you know, what you were, and we could celebrate it. Well, I had a straight one on, and my friend Loretta said, who made the badge on the wall, by the way.
Hey.
They said to me, it was a straight blinky ring. I think they sensed that was out of place. And I said, well, I'm married to a man, you know? And they said, that doesn't mean you're straight. And it was the first time someone kind of like gave me that permission to like, oh, okay. Because, you know, I never want to be disrespectful to my community or anyone else.
Right.
And then, you know, I went to therapy and I talked a lot of this stuff out and went, wow, okay, yeah, that's what's going on.
Are we the same person?
I know, right? And it's
such a similar,
yeah.
like we all the accounts are unique, but I feel like there are similar waypoints along the way.
I think so too. And especially like people that come out a little bit older, like I just think that, you know, I don't know about you, but I have these days where I'm so angry that I didn't get to kind of claim that sooner in my life. But, you know, I'm glad I get to claim it at all, you know?
I mean, there's always a grief about like, oh my God, how much time went by.
Yes.
I still feel that sometimes.
Yes.
Because I'm so much happier now being pan than I ever was before when I thought I was straight.
Yes.
You know, and when I came out like earlier this year, so I'm brand new, baby gay, and you know, for me, like when I think it was 12 or 13. Now looking back on it, I realized that's when everything started coming up, but I didn't have an area to express that. And I ran into one of those friends, you know who they are, who don't understand or even have these really like militant opinions about it. And they're like, at the time I was using the word bisexual. I didn't know what pansexual meant.
Right.
I had never even heard of it.
It's relatively newer, right?
I feel like the last 10 years in mainstream culture.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I feel like we're still kind of the redheaded stepchildren of
Totally.
LGBT. Is like, oh, the pans are over there. Like, there's like one person in the corner. Like if there was a convention, like this tiny little table, moth-eaten tablecloth.
And that's why when I meet pan people, I'm very excited. I'm like, you're a pan? Like,
yeah, this podcast booking people for this podcast, like, oh, I don't know if we can find a lot of pan.
we're there, we're hiding in the pantry.
But yeah, I had a friend tell me like, I was just discussing the concept of bisexuality. And my thought about coming out to her, and she said, I don't believe in bisexual, either gay or straight. And then like 20 years went by. It was just like so like.
I totally get it. And it's also the people that are important to you in life and family members. They can say things that really like you don't know. I just feel like words matter and support matters.
Right.
And you just get this idea of yourself sometimes from other people and you start to kind of believe it.
Right.
You know, and you know, as painful as that is to say, but it's true. And but I agree with you. I feel like I said this once in a post on Instagram for like National Coming Out Day. Like when I came out, I felt like this world that had been in these beautiful like pastel colors had all of a sudden just like flipped the switch and everything was bright. And like that's how we know it's real. Right. You know what I mean? It's like just this like queer joy of like, oh my God, I can be myself, you know?
The world is now in 4K, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I've recently come out as non-binary, and that's a whole new world too. Just kind of taking gender out of that equation. And I've been so grateful that I have this community. Shout out to the queer community. Because yes, I championed the queer community for so many years, but when I came out and when I was ready, they did not disappoint. They said, come here, baby. Come here, give me a hug. And it's like,
favorite thing about the community.
Seriously, it's just so like, oh my God, you know?
Your queer friends already knew, like they
yeah.
years ago. Oh,
totally.
We're waiting for you to figure it out. And that's what I got too.
I know. And it's kind of funny. You're like, could you maybe pass me a note in class or something?
And even my straight friends were like, we're not surprised.
Right. That checks out, you know? Yeah, totally. I gotta say, one of the most fun things. So when I came out, the first person I told after my therapist, shout out to my doctor, she really did open that pantry a little for me,
yes.
So I could really just kick it open.
Build in pants out of there.
Yeah, and you know, I told my partner Doug, I said I'm queer, I'm pansexual, and he said I know. And he said, you know, straight people don't open queer stores. So I was like, oh, okay, you know. And it's funny because I'm not centering him as like the whatever, but I think it's just that it's
a good metric.
It is. It's kind of funny, like someone that knows you the most. It's like, yeah, that checks out. And but what I gotta say, and I think that anyone listening that maybe is not part of the queer community, or maybe is like having a friend that's coming out later in life. One of the things I really, really appreciated from my partner was that after I came out, he went nuts and bought me a pan flag, a pan sweatshirt, a pan pin, a pan this, like everything pan. And even though it might seem a little like cheesy or cliche to have this like pan flag, it was like no one had celebrated that in me before.
Right.
And no one was going to in that way. So it's important to celebrate those things. Like, yeah, I wasn't 20 and didn't get to like wrap it naked in a pan flag and walk in a parade, you know, like, so for someone to be like, look, this is your chance to celebrate yourself. It meant a lot to me. And I think like, if I can kind of tell that to other people that are supporting your friends and your significant others, like it's a big deal, you know?
It is. I had so much support, and I only had a couple of friends who had difficulty adjusting to it, but they kind of took it away and worked on it on themselves, on their own, which I really appreciate because it's really not my job to walk someone through that. Like I can answer questions, but I can't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't change who I am to please somebody else, you know. But I say, getting naked and wrapping myself in a pan flag and walking in a parade sounds like a really fun
I think
thing
we
to
should
do.
do that next time, right? I mean, yeah, why not?
I would
Maybe we
love
should do
that.
like a photo shoot, and we're like, yeah, that'd be. Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would love that.
Maybe
Oh
we
my
could just
God.
get all the people that are on Pan Talk to like just hold a flag, like naked.
Ooh.
I love naked.
Let's write that idea down. Oh, I do. I personally am a naturalist, so.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, it's awesome.
So, when was the first time that you heard the word pansexual or saw maybe it in the media, like a character in TV was pansexual?
The first time I heard it was Miley Cyrus, and I kind of went, okay, not to put any stock in that, it's just she was very vocal about it.
Right.
But the first time I really felt like I related to a character was David from
Yes!
Yes!
Same thing. That's the first time, like, I had seen the character, I think it was Torchwood of Captain Jack Harkness. I don't know if you're familiar with that show. Those of you are screaming at the screen right now because you know that show. I love that character so much, and he's the handsomest man on television. But, it was very sensationalized. It was like, gay people sleep around a lot, and that's bad. Whereas I like to say gay people do whatever they want, and they can sleep around or not, and either way, it's all good.
Yeah.
But David was, I felt a more balanced character.
I think so too. And it's funny because I heard that Dan Levy like really pushed to have the character David be Pan.
Great.
And the whole wine, I like the wine, not the label thing. It was
Yes.
like, yes, it was like rewinding it over and over again. But one of the things I really appreciated most too was having this very I relate to David a lot, like just personality wise, and to see someone on screen that was kind of what society thinks is a mess, like just extra messy, over emotional, all these things, and then get support and love and acceptance from the people that matter to him in his life. It was like, well, maybe I am worthy of all this love and acceptance. That sounds so sad, but it's true.
I feel like we all struggle for acceptance and love, and I think in this community, we find a lot of that because the outside world's like, no, you can't have that.
Yeah.
You're strange. You're not like us.
Right.
So,
Right.
I don't know how many, my partner, I've sent him so many David jokes. Because his personality is like, that's my mood and my vibe a lot of times when we're talking about complaining and shading on people.
Right.
So much fun to do. we always bring it back to the positive note.
Totally. Well, and that's the fun thing is that it is positive in the end, Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Let's talk about the wonderful things we've heard from people who don't really understand what pan means. What are the top 5 or top 3? For me, it's, so you don't like women anymore? I get that all the time.
A family member asked me, does that mean you're a boy? This is what gets me. That family member is on Facebook, so they can use Google. Google is available, people. And maybe when you Google it, you'll see Pan Talk, and then there will be connection there. But yeah, I have never gotten the pots and pans question, luckily, because I think I would just kind of, blank. Luckily, I hang out, I think, with enough queer people that I don't get too many weird questions, except for from straight people saying, wait a minute, you're married. And I'm like, have you heard of a bisexual?
Yeah.
And then they're like, yes. And I'm like, let's start there.
That's the inroads for me too. It's like bisexual. Just
I'm like, so you can kind of see. So yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to explain well, I'm heterosexual, and let me explain what that means.
Right.
That's the standard. So I don't want to have to do a seminar every time I meet somebody new.
Totally.
I've only gotten the pots and pans thing from queer friends who are being ironic because it's funny.
That's hilarious.
It's
I know. I
fascinating.
kind of love it that we're like embracing that though, because it's so ridiculous.
Right.
I just saw that there's like this beach in Australia that has this giant pan sticking out of the sand, like as an art installation. So
I
was
saw
like,
that.
yeah, we need to go there.
Yes.
That's amazing. Like just
lie in the pan
yeah.
on a day that's not hot. I don't want to actually burn.
I know,
myself.
right?
But
And I gotta also say that, and I think like going back to like bi-erasure and pan-erasure and people saying wild things to you about it is
right.
I actually wear this necklace, and this necklace says queer enough on it.
Oh.
And a girl like came in.
love that.
I know, isn't that awesome? So this girl came in. She runs the Instagram account bi-astrology, and she's bi, and she was wearing this, and I said, "Where did you get that?" She said, "I made it. I sell them." So I bought one, and I keep it on every day because it does remind me that no one else can. I honestly think the community's been very nice, but sometimes it's a mental thing. Like, am I queer enough? And it's like, yes, I am. Yeah, very much so.
I remember my first time I met someone who was pansexual. We were friends, and one of the things that she said is is the first person I came out to was a year ago, and I remember her saying like, "Oh, you might be a little bit queer." I thought that was such a weird thing to say. Like, you're either queer or you're not. And of course, there is a spectrum, and I don't think she meant it in any particular way.
Why?
But it
right.
did stick in my brain. I'm like, queer, But it's amazing how those little phrases, no matter who says them,
Yes.
they stick up here.
They do. And I talked about that recently too with some friends about the gender fluidity. You get these, is this right? Am I going nuts? Like, am I making this up kind of thing? And no, the answer is always no. You're not making shit up. If you feel queer, you're queer.
That's the hetero programming, I think.
It is. It is.
Oh, this is wrong, so now. And I remember when I first came out, I had a lot of not good enoughness. Like, I felt like somehow I wasn't good enough for the community because I looked up to the community for so long, or that loving the queer community somehow my love was lessened by being a member of it instead of being an ally. Like, oh, because I'm an ally, I'm not a member of this group, and I love it so much, like that has more power. And I think when I dig back deeper into that, what it really was I just want to look. It's like part of me wants to look good, and it's just ego. And I was like, forget that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think it's heteronormative programming. I think it's our self-esteem and our worth and our egos and all things getting in the way. And it's like, if we just strip down, like, what is it? Who do you want to love? Who do you want to be friends with? Who do who is your community? And then you realize you fit right in. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Everybody fits in.
Everybody fits in. That's queer. And, with each other, not with the straight society.
The cool straight people. You know who you are.
Yeah, you know who you are. The three of you.
No.
I'm just kidding. You might want to edit that one out.
No. So talk to me also about how you identify as non-binary. Like, what does that mean to you?
Like I said, I was forced to be femme for a long time.
Right.
And it was very confusing. So I just embraced it. I was like, well, I guess I'm a girly girl and all this stuff, but it never really felt right. It just didn't. And I think you don't know, especially when you're growing up, like you don't know what those feelings are of things being off. You know they're off, but you don't know why.
Right.
Some days I just don't feel like a woman, and I don't feel like a man. So I'm kind of, but I've been lucky enough to have like a very strong community of non-binary and trans friends that have kind of guided me, and one of my friends, Laura, said, and I'm giving people shout outs because this was their labor that they did out of love to help me, all sorts of things. But so yeah, Laura said, when you take, I think they were talking about underwear drawer, sorry, Laura, if you're mad at me telling this, but.
This is a queer friend of yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They, them, and they're like, if you, doesn't matter if you wear the frilly underwear or the boy cut underwear, when you take gender out of the equation, then nothing matters anymore. You just wear what you want to wear, you be who you want to be. And that was so freeing for me, so liberating to just be like, okay.
Put this rock that was put on your shoulders because femme was like forced upon you.
Yeah.
And whether because of that being forced upon you, or because you naturally as a person don't want that. Like you get to choose, I want to be more masculine, or I want to be, I've heard the term androgynous, like to be kind of in the middle. Like I have a friend who's non-binary who is working with me androgynous.
I love androgynous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
And I think we just all get to be who we are. And it wasn't until I came out that I realized how much sexual orientation, hetero, and gender orientation, like it's just our culture is so heavily saturated in that.
It's so, and it's like once you accept who you are and you're living your truth and you're knowing that, you start seeing it everywhere. And I don't know if this has to do, by the way, I just wanted to give that rock that I'm shouldering away. Okay. I agree. But I don't know if you did this too, but this gaydar that we've always had, or queerdar, it's out now.
Mm-hmm.
I walk by, I'm like, queer. Everybody's queer.
I'm like, honey, queer? He's like,
yep, that person's queer. Yep. And I get very excited. I'm like, oh my God, they're queer. So
queer. I was like, just because somebody's queer doesn't mean they want to like hug me or talk to me. They don't, because I had them, I'm like, I should be a little, I should rein it in a bit.
I say no.
I am a stranger to them.
Right? I mean, maybe don't run up and like hug them.
I just get so excited.
I do.
It's like you see a kitty or a puppy, and like, and you're like, I'm sorry, random person. I did not mean to startle you. I am a fellow queer person. Are you queer? I think you are.
Yes. It's like,
I hope I'm right. You're wrong.
But I feel like that's the beautiful thing. I feel like most people would like get that in our community. They would get where you're coming from. They would, cool.
So you opened this queer business, New Profanity, and tell us about that journey.
It's wild. I've had it for 6 years.
Nice.
They
say a business needs to be like 5 years to start like making money back.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I've always said us about the store.
Right.
And I think some people think I'm referring to Doug, but when I say us, I've always thought that this store belongs to everyone.
Oh.
That's why I say we and us, because even though I'm the one here every day by myself, and running everything, it belongs to the community. So that's where that comes from. But yeah, I mean, we were really starting to do great at year 3. And then we had to move from our spot because our block got sold.
Oh, wow.
And so we moved from Melrose to La Brea, and then 6 months into the lease, the pandemic hit.
Oh.
So we were already trying to catch up from this move that was expensive. And then we couldn't be open for 6 months and had to pay a lease, And so this location right here, first of all, I live across the street.
What?
Yeah, I wasn't going to open up another store because I thought this is over, But this place became available after like 10 years of being occupied. And it just felt like, I call it like a shove from above. Like
the queer gods spoke and like they smiled upon you.
Totally. They were saying like, give it one more try. So I opened here and, I'm still clawing and scraping, but I realized during the pandemic, the lockdown and everything. Well, first of all, that's when I came out because I was in intensive therapy and realized a lot about myself. But then I also realized that all we had was each other. Like, no one else was helping us, It's like, especially in the art community too, it was just like, we were just passing back the same $20. Like, here, you needed this week, I needed this week. So when I opened this space...
And can I just say that's what I love about the community.
Yes, me too.
Even with money and things and like, you need a place to stay, like anything. It's amazing.
Totally, it really is. And also on a side note, someone told me about how, even though that's like this great thing and we joke about it, it also is the way that we can kind of start our own economies within a community.
Right.
Which is something very special.
Building generational queer wealth.
Exactly. And protecting each other,
right.
And helping each other.
Well, you can tell us about your lovely store, what you sell, the beauty of the work is fabulous.
Thank you. So when I opened this store, I wanted to really dedicate it to the community. People donated to a GoFundMe so we could open it.
Yeah.
And it's just now I make sure that like we can have a lot of queer events and space for people to hold things that they want to hold here, you know, within reason, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, so the store, everything in the store is made by different artists.
Nice.
Nothing is big business. Nothing's like bought and sold like, you know, from a big business ventures, all small business, all independent artists. And just really trying to give everyone a platform and a chance to sell what they sell and make what they make. Because I think a lot of artists think like, oh, I don't know if this is good enough or something, you know, and it's like, I'm here to show you it is. There's someone out there that wants what you want.
100%.
You know,
100%.
or wants what you make. But yeah, and the art on the wall right now is an artist named Fertisha Gurley. She's having her solo art show right now. That's what's on the wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all of these are from the same artist?
Yes, these are all from the same artist. Yes.
Oh, wow. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, is there anything you would like to say to somebody who's maybe think they want to come out or they're not sure, and maybe they're in a place where it's not safe to come out? What would you say to them at this moment?
I would say, first of all, you don't have to come out. There's no rush. There's no, even though it might feel urgent, it's on your time.
Exactly what I was
control.
told. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in control. So you make the decision. But when you do, we're here. We're ready for you. It's never too late. It doesn't matter. I came out at 38 years old. You know, Ricky Martin also.
37.
Ricky Martin came out at 38. I just saw his little behind the music. I mean, we all knew, but you know what I mean? Like, no, right? But it's never too late. And also, I'm going to quote one of my friends, Blair. Blair said at Queersphere, one of my monthly open mics, they said, when you find your community, or when I found my community, I found myself. And it really hit the nail on the head. Know that there is a community for you out there and they will support you, and you just got to find it. And, you know, like, it's awesome to be queer. Join us.
Join us. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Hug hugs. And that, my beautiful humans, is the Pan Talk Podcast. Remember, if you want to be a guest, you can email us at pantalkpod@gmail.com. And as always, my beautiful humans, have a fantastic day. Oh, and of course, come to New Profanity, which is located at
7706 Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood. You can also go to newprofanity.com or always check out the latest at our Instagram at New Profanity.
these pins from here. Good merchandise. Thanks again, Nat.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Pan Talk Podcast. Don't forget to rate, like, comment, and subscribe wherever your ears absorb our content. And remember, if you're interested in being a Pan Talk guest, you can email us at pantalkpod@gmail.com. Until next time, my beautiful humans, have a fantastic day.